All right, it's district breakdown time, and my guy Jon Poorman from the Houston Chronicle joins us. We are finally in individual districts, and we're going to start off in District 85A Division Two, which is a bear. I mean, it's a bear district because you have a Huntsville team that finished third place in their district last year, and they went all the way to the regional final to face P&G, who's now in their district, and you still got Lake Creek. Just talk about the quality of teams that we have in this district and who you might see coming out.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Some of these teams really got shaken up with the UIL realignment. As you mentioned, this is a pretty tough district just on paper. But it starts with PNG, coached by Katie alum Jeff Joseph. They're the defending state champions, beat Dallas powerhouse South Oak Cliff in the championship game. Finally got to the mountaintop there. Um, they're the prohibited favorite. Obviously, they have to be. You got to give them some respect there and what they've been able to accomplish, particularly in the last couple of seasons. They return a starting quarterback in Connor Bailey, but they also lose a 2,000-yard rusher in Isaiah Wynn and a dynamic receiver in Shea Adams. So, they definitely have some spots to fill. Need some playmakers on offense to kind of step up there, but they should definitely be formidable. You look at Lake Creek, over the past 2 years under Coach Pat Kennedy, they've gone 24-2, 12-1 each season, and won some playoff games, obviously, as well. They're going to be led by Tyvon Byers, one of the most prolific rushers in the state. Only played 9 games last year, but still rushed for 1,400 yards and 30 touchdowns. And then they also have a really good returning starter at quarterback, Eli Morcos. So, the Lions aren't going anywhere for sure. Going down the line here, you look at Montgomery, they have a dynamic dual threat quarterback in Reggie Williams, and he's always dangerous, to make some plays and, kind of get the Bears into some shootouts. They've been in some shootouts the past couple of seasons with him kind of leading the charge and putting up big numbers. As you mentioned, Huntsville, was really the surprise, of the playoffs last year, going 4 rounds deep before losing to PNG. They're usually tough under head coach Rodney Southern, and then you got some other interesting teams in here as well. West Fork, out of New Caney ISD, is playing their first varsity football season. So history would suggest that it's going to be a little bit of tough sledding, but you never know. And then Splendora, moving back up into 5A from 4A. Splendora kind of, rides the fence between 4A and 5A over, in recent years, but they're now back up in 5A, so that'll be, a big challenge for them. So yeah, top to bottom, there's a lot of intriguing storylines in this district for sure.
Yeah, and the one thing that we learned, at least when I talked to Rodney Southern about teams like Lake Creek and PNG, is that they have such potent offense. Well, PNG has more of a powerhouse offense where they just run it down your throat and they kind of pound you and pound you. But Lake Creek likes to play on top. Those are teams that when Lake Creek did lose, it's from coming from behind. So if you're going to jump on these teams, if you're going to beat these teams, and even Coach Southern said so, you got to get up on them early. You got to get up on them by 2 scores and make them try to come back like that. And then you look at Lake Creek, at Eli Marcos, who doesn't have to do all that much because of Byers back there, but he could very well be a steal for some college who, he may not have well over 2,000 yards passing, but he is a good passer. And I talked to Coach Kennedy about him as well. Just doesn't have to show it as much because they're running all over people. They're scoring 50 points a game just from the running game, and he can do some stuff as well. How interesting is it to you about not just this district, but the region two? Because we're going to have a different state title game because those two, both SOC and PNG, are both in the same region. Getting through this region, does it help to have a district like it is, a powerhouse type district, at least top heavy type district, to help you get your way through region two and possibly to a state title game?
Yeah, absolutely. The tougher the competition in the regular season, the more prepared your team is going to be for the playoffs, obviously. And obviously, you don't get to pick your districts, but these teams are going to be battle tested by the time they get to the postseason. And you've seen it in the past. With PNG, They haven't been in the toughest districts the past couple years, but they've also been paired up with the Fort Bend Marshall, and getting a chance to see a team like that in the regular season is really valuable. Lake Creek, has that playoff experience. These guys have been in these playoff battles before, so they're going to be ready. You mentioned Eli Morcos. I mean, yes, Tyvon Byers is the star of the show. But when you look at Morcos, what he was able to accomplish last year, 18 touchdowns, only one interception. So he was limited in what he was asked to do for this offense just because of the nature of how they do things and being in a bunch of blowout games. But, incredibly efficient, takes care of the football. So, yeah, I mean, what Rodney Southern said is correct. These teams are explosive offensively. And so, and that's with Huntsville. For example, their defense was their calling card last year and really, sparked that deep playoff run. So, different teams, different programs, different styles of play. It's going to be really interesting to watch all these teams mix it up.
Yeah, it's going to be a fight to get the 4 teams out of it. I think we probably both in agreement that P&G, Huntsville, and Lake Creek will probably get out. Who do you think that 4th team might be if you had to pick right now in April?
Put me on the spot. Yeah. I'm kind of bullish on Montgomery just because of the player they have in Reggie Williams at quarterback. I think, when it comes to high school ball, especially in the state of Texas, when it comes postseason time and you're playing all these talented teams, if you have a guy at quarterback, especially, a guy like Williams who can make plays with both his arm and his legs, I think that's incredibly dangerous. As I mentioned before, he's put up some big numbers here in his time as the starter for the Bears, and so I think that factor is really big, and I think that could potentially get them over the hump and get them into the playoffs here in this district.
Well, next week we will talk about the other Division II 5A team that we have in the Houston area. I mean, district that we have in the area, and they got some powerhouses there as well with Marshall, Iowa Colony, and Randall, and among others. So I will talk to you next week, John. I appreciate you joining me.
Sounds good.